Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we just sent up the last two modules and docked them up that we needed to get our moon mining station operational. Now, there is this science data from space around Kerbin contract here that we can do, and that's ridiculously easy. So we're just going to go ahead and do that and get ourselves some free cash. So we want to grab like this ComSat here. That'll do the trick. We'll go ahead and fly this, and all we got to do is get ourselves some data. We don't really care about the value of the data. Not enough electric charge. Sure. Are we allowing partial? That's very flickery. We go ahead and allow that. Yeah, it already was. Okay, we'll allow partial. We'll transmit the data. And this is not necessarily the absolutely best model of ComSat that we had up here. The reason it's flickering, of course, is because our electric charge is toggling. But we will go ahead and watch this. Oof. Absolutely oof. We probably want some batteries on this, but our newer generation does have it. We did, however, get the data that we needed, and so that is perfect. We're going to head back to the Space Center. And our station is pretty low on fuel. So what we're going to do next is we are going to go ahead and grab some fuel for it. So let's head to the tracking station here. And I want to grab actually this mining module. I believe that this mining module should be full. This claims 0.08 out of 600, but I don't think, I think that was last time we were there that updated. So let's go ahead and fly this, and let's check to see where this is at. Now, we're probably going to want to tip over, so that's going to be a concern. This is, of course, the old generation of lander here. Actually, we're good. Well, we are tipping over. Let's go ahead and extend those legs. Okay. Okay, we're good. Let's retract our radiators. They're no longer necessary. Let's retract our drill. And yes, we knew that this was going to probably tip over the moment that we did this. So let's retract all of that, and we'll retract our radiators as well. Not that we have to retract our radiators, but we probably should. I'm going to leave our solar array for now. And looking at our heading here, this is going to be interesting for sure. What about our timing for an interception here? Yeah, it's not necessarily great. That is for sure. I'm going to time warp here for a few minutes. In fact, I'm going to do this at 100x. And we are, of course, going to set this as our target. And we are going to wait for a bit here. Until this gets a little bit closer. Now, we'll probably end up being a little ahead or behind it, and that is reasonably okay, but going to slow down our time warp a bit. We can see the towards target marker coming up there. Excellent. And let's go ahead and launch this in a moment. Just going to let it boost up a little bit closer, and I think let's go ahead and launch this guy. We'll retract our landing legs, and we will go to straight up for now. Fantastic. And we'll have to pursue this a bit, I'm sure. Let's go ahead and burn towards the target here. Excellent. And you can see here the target is currently outrunning us a bit. This is not super surprising to me. Target is up there about 39 kilometers away. And that's okay. We'll just make our way up into orbit. That's completely fine. Our apoapsis is a little bit below where we want it to be. Of course, our thrust to weight with this thing fully loaded isn't the best. That's okay. And as you can see here, we're slowing down a bit, but yeah, this timing wasn't going to work. I needed to wait a little longer. That's okay. We'll just position here for now. And we're going to push up our apoapsis to be approximately the correct location. And we'll see how close we can end up getting. The answer is probably not particularly. especially considering the inclination that we're going to be at. I mean, we are reducing our descending node, I suppose, so that's good. We're just going to hold here for now. Burning not quite straight up. And let's get ourselves up to about the right altitude here of about 40 kilometers. We don't need to get it exactly correct. In fact, overshooting isn't necessarily the worst thing. Okay, we're going to flip over towards prograde, not that way. We're going to flip over to orbital prograde. There we go. That's a little bit more like it. Excellent. So that's fine, and we're going to add in a maneuver here that will put us up into orbit. This is way more delta V than we need. We'll just get it slightly elliptical to be about like this so that we can get ourselves a reasonable position. So this is going to be burned at T minus, let's see here, 30 plus 26 is what we're looking for. So T minus 56 seconds is what we're looking at. We'll go ahead and warp towards T minus 56. And we shouldn't really need to do too much in order to get a good rendezvous here other than wait, in reality. And we should be burning this right now, but we're not aimed for it. There we go. Let's go ahead and do that. And we'll make our way into orbit. Yes, we are behind the space station core, but it's fine. So we'll get ourselves into orbit. Here we'll have a little bit of delta V left, but not a ton. Like I said, we're not going to need a ton. And we are full on, or almost full, on monoprop, so we should be absolutely fine here. In theory, anyway. I hope, anyway. No, it should be fine. And remember, this is the one that we took off and landed several times, so we have lower fuel on this one as well. So we should have no problem whatsoever with the other one, and if we land in a more flat location next time with this one, which we'll absolutely aim to do. So we've got about 100 meters per second left in the tank after we're done with this particular burn. I don't think we're going to push it out quite as far as this, in all honesty. Going to just adjust our heading a little bit here. As far as our ascending and descending node goes, we're a bit off, certainly, in terms of our inclination. There's no doubt about that one. That may end up being an issue. We'll have to see. We'll have to think about that. Yeah, that's probably an issue. And, I mean, that's just because of the way I took off, right? That's entirely not to do with the craft here. Let's go ahead and take this up to here. We'll save the additional 34 meters per second. And out of curiosity, actually not that bad of an intercept. What if we just burned, like, now-ish? Like, what if we burned over here, and we changed our ascending node? That actually makes it worse. Gotcha. That's fine. So what about if we were to do absolutely nothing? How long would we have to wait for an intercept? That's one orbit. I mean, that's a pretty lengthy wait. But all things considered, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I like it. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and switch to the other mining module. And this one we should have an easier time getting to the station. So that'll be fine. And I think we'll just go ahead and... well, we'll retract our drills, of course. This one is, of course, much more stable because we're on relatively flat terrain here. We'll go ahead and retract our radiators as well. I'll keep the solar panels out for now. SAS on, and up we go. Fantastic. Whoa. No. Stop that drift, please. Just hold position right here. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and do a bit of a rotation. About like that-ish. There we go. And up we go. And see, we've definitely got more fuel in this one. So that'll be fine. And the space station core is, of course, over here. I have no idea what our timing is like. I guess we'll find out. It's probably not good, if I'm honest. But maybe it's okay. I mean, we are currently getting a lot closer. Maybe. But I don't really care all that much. We'll dock these up with no real issue. So up we go, and we're going pretty straight up. Not entirely straight up. Our eccentricity and inclination... Actually, our inclination is coming down a little. That's good. I do want to be in orbital mode here. And let's just go ahead and burn orbital prograde. That'll be fine. Until our apoapsis is pushed up high enough. Excellent. Our inclination is going up a little bit. I'm going to adjust our heading here. Okay. Let's see. That's probably good enough. And yeah, I think we launched a little early here, is my guess. We'll see. I mean, our relative velocity is pretty far apart. There's no doubt about that. We'll see how close this ends up being. We've still got a little while before our apoapsis gets there. We can see here that our separation is about 100 kilometers apart. Interesting. Very, very interesting. About 80 kilometers there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start getting ourselves a prograde burn at this apoapsis. No, not radial. A prograde burn at the apoapsis here. And that'll be something along the lines of this. Interesting. We want to change the timing of it, though. That's a very awkward prograde burn. Okay, the timing is not correct. We want it to be right about here. About. And we'll just push that out to be, you know, something not exactly like that, but something along those lines. So this one was clearly launched a little bit early for peak efficiency. There's no doubt about that. That's okay. What if instead of burning this much, we instead only burned somewhat? But what if we burned it more like this? Aha! I like it. So we're going to make that separation be something like that. That'll do. And we'll go ahead and position for that. This will be at T minus 27.5 seconds, right? No, 22.5 seconds is when we want to do this. So we'll go ahead and warp towards that. T minus 22.5 seconds. Okay, we'll position here, and we'll burn this now. So this is only some of the horizontal burn that we're looking for. We're also getting a fair amount of vertical burn here, but of course, once we get over here, we're going to want to do a target retrograde burn, and we'll want to burn 373 meters per second to match velocity, and that'll be okay. So we'll go ahead and do that once we get there. That's only 4 minutes away, after all. So a nice little phasing burn here. Okay. We'll stop this right... Oh, we're off the node a little. Stop this right about now. Good enough. Okay, so once we arrive here, I don't actually care about the direction, but I want to burn 373.8 meters per second. Like I said, I don't care about this direction. I'm just using this for timing. 373.8. Like that. And that's going to be a target retrograde burn that we're going to do there. So that's 1.5 minutes, so we want to burn this at T minus, let's see here, 45 seconds. Okay. We'll go ahead and warp to that next maneuver. We can see here that the station is getting closer, as is the goal. T-minus 45 is what we're looking for, so we will go ahead and warp towards that. And we will burn this right about now. Something along these lines. Now, this isn't going to get us perfectly exactly where we want to be, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and retract a single solar panel. We do not need both of these open. Excellent. So obviously you can see here that our, and I don't actually care about this maneuver node. I was only using this for timing. You can see here that our relative speed is changing. Our target position is actually not changing all that much. So that's wonderful. We need to accelerate about another 200 more meters per second. Yeah, this is looking great. Our timing wasn't that bad. It only costed us about 200 DV to catch up with this thing. Okay, we just loaded it in. We're only about 1.5 kilometers away now. And we still need to bleed off 100 meters per second here. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but it actually seems to be going pretty well. It is going to pass us a bit here, it looks like. 50 more meters per second to burn off. Yeah, it's getting further away now. So like I said, it's not going to be exactly perfect because I didn't choose the exact right time, but it's pretty close. Okay. There we go. And now we just need to do a quick get closer burn, which indeed we shall do. We'll head down over towards the marker over here. And we will head in at probably somewhere around 3 meters per second at this distance, I think. Should be fine. 2 and 3. Okay. So our rendezvous point is now going to be up here. We're going to go ahead and warp to about here, 2 minutes in the future. And we're going to flip over to target retrograde as soon as this warp is done. And we're going to bleed off this speed. In fact, I'm going to cancel this warp right now. And we're going to flip over. Because we're starting to enter the approach envelope here. So we're definitely going to bleed off this speed as soon as we are below 100 meters per second. Or 100 meters per second. Below 100 meters from the target is what I mean to say. And there's really only one docking port on this that we can effectively get to. And that's this one right here. So we'll set that as our target. And I'm, for now, going to stow our Gigantor array, I think. Yeah, we've got plenty of electric charge. So I'm going to stow our Gigantor array as we approach. And we'll position right there. Now we'll switch over to the station. And we are going to control from this docking port. And we're going to set this as our target. And then we will slowly make our way over towards facing that correctly. Excellent. Freeze those physics. And then we are just going to head in at about half a meter per second, right? There we go. Let's change our actual velocity there. And change our heading. There we go. And let's warp in a little bit. We are going to drift off of this a little. This is expected. Once we get to about 30 meters out, we'll do another velocity adjustment with our RCS. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that now. Please have SAS off. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll adjust our heading with our reaction wheel. Perfect. As we get closer, the drift will look more and more extreme, and that is expected. Should be good. So really all we have to do is offload our ore here. That's really all we have to do. So we'll come on in, dock up, This should be no problem. We'll offload our ore, and then we'll need to free this up for our other mining craft. That'll be fine. So I'm going to adjust this one last time here as we approach. That should be close enough, I believe. We're drifting off a little bit, but we should have docking forces acting very shortly. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go ahead and offload from these tanks. And we'll put them into, say, this tank for now. And we'll just shift that on over, and then we'll put the other into this tank, I think. And then we will begin our processing. And we should probably freeze these physics at some point, because that amount of waggling makes me a little sad. Okay, and then we'll put the remainder into here. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and freeze those physics and time warp that. There we go. Excellent. So this is now empty, and we are going to begin processing liquid fuel and oxidizer. Perfect. This should reach 1000 Kelvin and stop. Yep. Exactly. Okay. And I'm not sure, is this going into all tanks equally? I believe it will be. Yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. What we're going to do right now is we are going to look at refueling this lander. Of course, we're not going to be able to necessarily get this completely full because our fuel amounts on the station are quite low right now. But let's go ahead and just do this number. We'll see if we can get this pretty close to full. Of course, we're making fuel at the same time, so if we have to, that's fine. We can continue making the fuel. Just move this on in, and of course this tank isn't going to fill all 5 of those, but that's expected. Okay, and now we will send some fuel from this tank. Yep, that's fine. There's not much in these tanks, but there we go. And we will just let this continue to make additional fuel at this point. Let's go ahead and head back to this mining module, which is actually pretty close. Let's go ahead and switch to it. Okay, what's the relative velocity here looking like? 135? Yeah, that's actually fine. So I want the closest point here, which would of course be there. And then I want 135 meters per second, right? 135.3. So we want the timing here. I don't actually care about the direction. Just 135.3. Something along the lines of 35.3. 2 and 3. There we go. And we'll go ahead and warp to that maneuver while we're waiting for fuel to be made. Excellent. So here we come to the maneuver. This is of course going to be a target retrograde burn. So we'll set the space station as our target, and we'll go to target retrograde. This is going to be a 29-second burn. Now we're not going to be able to dock this guy up immediately. That's expected. So we're going to want to burn this at T minus 14.5 seconds. We'll go ahead and position for that. Just warping a little forward, and we'll burn this now. Looks like the space station core is currently up there. And yeah, we don't actually care about this direction. I was only using it for the timing. So we'll just park this in a very, very similar orbit for now. And another 50 meters per second here. We do have RCS in this, so we aren't concerned about our fuel levels. Okay, just bleed off this last little bit of speed. There we go. And now we will work on getting closer to the target. Our orbits are still sufficiently far out that this is not going to be a particularly effective park. I'm not sure which direction the station is actually in. It's like it's down this way. Just working off of the nav ball there. Excellent. So we will go ahead and get a little bit closer to the station here. It looks like we are currently moving that way reasonably. We're going to come in at somewhere around 3 meters per second, but I'm just going to pull us over about like this. Okay. What's our nearest intercept looking like? Is all the way around over here at 5 kilometers? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. The distance of this thing is coming down. So let's go ahead and hop over to retrograde, target retrograde. In fact, I want to physics warp. Okay. And now I'm going to time warp. Okay, we're currently 3.1 kilometers out, and we are waiting to get a little bit closer here. Okay. Looks good. We'll go ahead and burn target retrograde. And we'll kill this relative velocity. This is absolutely fine. Okay, there we go. And at this point, we are going to burn once again towards target. And we're going to try to get a little bit closer here. We're going to burn in at about 5 meters per second this time. There we go. We'll just lock to prograde for now. I'll actually pull this over this way a little bit. There we go. 6.2 meters per second should be fine. Separation of 1 kilometer over here. That looks good. We'll flip over to retrograde. And we will warp in to over here. Retrograde will shift, of course, during the warp, so I don't want to warp all the way over there. Now, once again, we don't have a docking port over there, but that's fine. So this distance is 1.0 kilometers. Okay, we'll go ahead and bleed off this relative speed. It's not very much relative speed that we need to bleed, so that is perfect. Okay, and let's go ahead and burn towards the target again, and let's get a little bit closer. Bring our relative speed in. This time I'm going to go in 3 meters per second. So right about here. We'll flip over to retrograde. And what's this looking like? 0.4 kilometers. Sounds good to me. We'll go ahead and warp to here, 3 minutes in the future. Okay. And we'll kill our relative speed again. A little faster than that is fine. This will do. And we're going to, once again, get just a little closer. At this point, we are doing very, very well here, but we don't have a docking port available for it. That is definitely something we need to consider. So at this point, I'm going to come in at 1 meter per second. 0.1 kilometers. Sounds good. We'll warp over here. And we'll flip over to retrograde as soon as we can. There we go. What is our closest separation? 0.1. Oh. Looks good. We'll continue to warp in a little bit here. Okay, we'll call this close enough, I think. We'll bleed off that relative speed. There we go. And at this point, let's hop over to the station and check our fuel levels. We should have good fuel. Yeah, it looks like this has processed all of the ore. So let's go ahead and grab these tanks here. Of course, it puts the ore into each tank equally. That's one thing that you have to consider when doing this. So we're going to grab fuel from this tank here. There we go. And we're going to grab fuel from this tank here. There's not a lot in that one. We're going to grab fuel from this tank. There's a decent chunk in there. And all of this fuel shifting is what's causing this rocking. There we go. We're going to grab the fuel from this tank. And the fuel from this tank. Excellent. We're getting close to full fuel here. Okay, there we go, and all the fuel from this tank. I was hoping that this would get us full fuel. What this ends up meaning is we need to find a slightly more efficient way to do this. Because we are not quite making back the amount of fuel it costs to get this down to the surface and lift it up. Now, we can make it more efficient, that is for sure. That is something we can definitely do. Unless there's a tank in here I'm forgetting about. Oh, this one. There is this one. Not like that one has much in it, of course. Yeah. We can make it slightly more efficient just with flight profiles, so that would be a doable thing. Like, this is really close to peak efficiency. Of course, we are also going to need to re-up our monoprop in this. So let's grab monoprop from, say, here. And let's go ahead and fill this guy up. There we go. No problem. And let's go ahead and detach you. We'll switch to this guy. RCS on. And I want to go this way. Just go away from there. Get a little bit of space going. Excellent. And now I'd like to switch over to this guy. So this guy here. This should, of course, be our docking port that we're targeting. And it is indeed the case. So we'll just go ahead and point towards that target. Like so. And then I'm going to burn in at a relatively low rate, like 0.5 meters per second. Just get our actual position going here. Actually, I'm going to stop this, and we're going to adjust it with RCS. SAS off, please. Thank you. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to switch to the station, and we're going to control from this docking port. We're going to set this over here as our target. And we'll go ahead and point up that way. Okay. I want to get a little further down. I've overshot it. Space station is a bit unwieldy, but there we go. And we will turn over to this guy and make sure that our heading is correct. We'll change our velocity here a bit. And then do something like this. I'm going to brake us a little bit here. Oh, that was my fault. We were drifting a bit. Down to actually 0.5 meters per second. There we go. SAS off. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and warp in. That doesn't have to be pinned open. And we're going to adjust this again in a little bit here. Actually going to warp in a little faster. We're going to adjust this one more time at about 30 meters out. There we go. SAS off, RCS on. Adjust this on over. Good. Yep, looking good for now. And we're going to warp in a little bit here. Currently about 10 meters out, so we'll stop the warp. One final adjustment. Go. And we'll hold this position here. And this should be a clean dock, in theory. Clean-ish. Docking forces repelled us a bit there, but it should dock up in a moment. I hope. I mean, we're literally right there. There we go. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and begin our ISRU. Start it. There we go. And it's just pulling directly out of this tank, which is fine. We don't need to store this right now because we don't need to dock up again. Yeah, our mining module is only 200 meters away. That is perfectly fine, and we will send that back down in the next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.